I'm Lee Spencer with Noah Gragson, and hey man, we're going to be on home turf this weekend in Las Vegas. You got to be stoked to be back at the homestead.
Yeah, I'm more than pumped up to get back home in Las Vegas and to be doing that in an Xfinity car on the big track. I race legend cars, Bandoleros, super late models, all those cars at the bull ring right outside of turns 1 and 2 there. They have a small little 3/8 mile track, and so to be able to transition over and race a car on the big track now has been a dream of mine for a long time. And then I'm going to have my teammate Zane Smith. We both grew up racing legend cars together, so it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to get back out there on the big track and dice it up a little bit.
How old were you when you started Bandoleros, and what was the field like? Was it a competitive field, or did you just have a bunch of kids? It was almost like a rec hockey game.
No, I'd say there's at least 2 or 3 kids that could show up and be really good competition. I started when I was 13 years old, so back in 2012 is when I started racing. I didn't know anything about racing before that. My dad actually took me out. It was on a Wednesday, the week before the season started, and so we went out to the racetrack, tested on Wednesday, and then I ended up loving it, and then we went back out there on the Friday and Saturday, and I finished 3rd in my first race, and then had a lot of fun doing that. So raced the Bandoleros, ended up winning like 12 of the 15 races or something, and then won the championship, and then I moved up into legend cars after that.
Did your love of racing start as a fan or a competitor? Had you been to the big track and watched the Cup guys race there, or was it just something your dad, on a whim, you guys decided to go and try?
I always liked action sports, dirt biking, mountain biking, snowboarding, skateboarding, all those kind of things, and I was always a fan of four-wheel racing, but I was not a die-hard fan of NASCAR, I wouldn't say. I didn't pay close attention until I started racing, and once I started racing, then I became a lot more of a fan, and I started paying a lot more attention to the actual sport of NASCAR, and I started having a lot more respect for what the Cup guys do. I didn't appreciate all the grueling demands that go into what the Cup guys do, Xfinity guys, truck guys do, until I drove a Bandolero, which isn't even close to how physically demanding it is to drive a stock car, and it just gave me a new appreciation for the sport.
And you talk about, going from Bandoleros and then exponentially making a huge jump. You go trucks, you go Xfinity. Now you're running full-time Xfinity for Dale Earnhardt Jr., which it's kind of cool to have a boss who is like the ultimate race fan, but he's also a racer, so he gets every aspect of the sport.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I feel like I come from the race fan side, just going to races. Once I started racing Bandoleros, I'd pay more attention of it. I became a fan of the upper-level guys, and whenever you go to the racetrack and you're, like, standing on the other side of the fence thinking, man, I want to get that guy's autograph, and you can pick out the guys who are really nice, and that's who you started cheering for is for the guys who would be really nice. So I try and go back and put myself in my shoes when I was younger and think, man, what would I want a race car driver to do if I was a 10-year-old kid standing at the racetrack? And so that's what I try and kind of model myself after. And so it's a lot of fun to work with Dale Jr. and the rest of the group at JR Motorsports. It's definitely a great opportunity, and just trying to make the most of it right now, just trying to be myself and drive the race car as fast as I can and just try and win people over every day.
What's the biggest difference between Kyle Busch as a boss and Dale Jr. as a boss, even though Dale Jr. is, semi-retired now?
I'd say they definitely have a lot of differences, but probably the things that they're very alike with are that they pay a lot of attention to detail, and I think that's why they've been successful in the Cup Series, both of them. I think it wouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they do stuff differently, and that they're kind of two different personalities, but I don't think it's a bad thing that they both pay attention to detail. They're really smart guys, and they're just really focused, and so just trying to model myself after that, and their work ethic is a goal of mine.
This past week we saw a lot of snow in Las Vegas. That had to have been strange because I can remember one time that Clark County schools were closed. It was probably about 10 years ago when we were in Vegas and couldn't get out of there, but that just seems so unusual for a kid that lived out in the desert. What is that like for you?
Well, it's only snowed 2 times, if I can recall, there. And then I think back in 2006, and then maybe 2009 or 2010, it snowed there. And I remember both of them vividly. But it's unusual, for sure. The second time it snowed there, nobody knew really what to do. I mean, it never snows in Las Vegas. So when that happened, they canceled school that night for the following day. And then, because it was snowing that night, we wake up in the morning and it's sunny, clear, and there's not a speck of snow in sight, and it's all dried up. So that was cool to have a day off, but I wish it would have been actual snow on the ground, So they got a lot. My parents were sending me pictures. I posted them on my Twitter about just how much snow we got at the house and everything back in Vegas. So it was really cool. I wish I could have been a part of it, but who knows? Hopefully it'll be there I fly there Tuesday, so hopefully it'll be like that when I get there.
But in the off season, you went to the frozen tundra of Canada. Talk about your experiences up there, and what did you enjoy the most? What did you learn? What was maybe different than what your perception was?
I didn't really know what we were going up to Lake Louise and Banff, and up there, it's kind of above Montana and Idaho, that part of the North American country, I guess, continent. And so it was definitely cold. -4 was the lowest we saw, so you feel like you're gonna freeze your face off. And then we went dog sledding, and that was on the -4 day. That was so cold, and that was a really cool experience.
For people who haven't dog sled, what was that like?
So you walk up there, and all the dogs are just going nuts. They're all barking, and it takes about 20 minutes to get everything situated, and they go over everything with you. And then the dogs are just going wild because they know it's about time when they're about to get going running. And I'm like, man, this is going to be super annoying to listen to these dogs barking and jumping around and stuff the whole time. I mean, there's probably 100 to 150 dogs there. And so, it's a lot of dogs. And you get going, and they stop. They're quiet instantly. It's the weirdest thing ever. Once they start running, you don't hear a peep out of them. And then the weirdest thing, I don't know if this is appropriate, but the dogs are running, and they're taking a dump while they're running. They don't even stop or anything. It's just and so that was probably the worst part of it, because the fumes are coming right in your face.
So would you do it again?
It's one of those things where you're like, man, that's cool to do it one time, but one time's enough, if that makes sense.
So what do you do for fun when you're not in a race car?
I've been kind of taking it just really mellow here lately, just trying to focus on the racing deal and going to the shop every day, and when I can, stay till 4 or 5 in the evening, and then head home, study some race film, talk to my buddy Grayson Raz from the West Coast. He was my teammate in K&N. I kind of lean on him for advice, and we play a game called PUBG. It's kind of like Fortnite, but we play that on the iPad. Dale Jr. got me hooked on that, so I play with Grayson and Dale, and then Tim Duggar. We all have a 4-person squad deal, and we all play with each other. Dale hits me up constantly. I'll be at dinner or something. I get a text, hey man, you want to play some PUBG with me, But I don't know, it's pretty fun to to do that with them. But other than that, it's been really laid back for me right now, just trying to focus on what I need to focus. And hopefully a year from now I can lay my head down at night and think I did everything possible that I could do to prepare and not have any regrets.
If Dale or Kelly came up and said, dude, you've got to take a day off, how would you spend that day, though? I mean, just a day off where you're a 20-year-old kid. If they said go and have fun, what would you go do?
Well, I get reprimanded when I have fun, so it's I don't have fun anymore, really.
You're too young not to have fun anymore. But so
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so have you and Dale Jr. went to military school. Have you guys had that conversation yet about comparing experiences going to school outside of the norm of public school?
No. So I don't know if you know, I went to military school.
Well, that's why I'm bringing this up.
We talked about it at Phoenix.
We talked about you being a chubby little kid and your parents sent you off to military school. So I was wondering if you and Dale Jr. have shared any military school tales yet.
No, I actually forgot that he went to military school. So that's probably a good topic and extra relation that we probably have. So I got to bring it up to him. I've completely forgot about it, honestly.
You were joking you were chubby. What's chubby for Noah Gragson?
It's, you know how you have, like, two chins? Well, not you, but, like, you know how, like, when you're chubby, you have, like, a double chin? Well, I had, like, 3 chins, you know?
So that was your nickname, Chin?
No, it wasn't Chin. It was just, like, so the food there was really gross, and I didn't eat very much of it. I wasn't, like, I don't know what you call it. What's a word when people don't eat? They, like, starve themselves? Not anorexic, but I don't know.
There are conditions, but
I didn't starve myself on purpose. Just the food there was, like, really gross. So I didn't really eat much of it. But I'd get, my mom would send me a care package of just junk food, you know? And then they had a little student store there that had junk food. So I ate. It was weird. Like, I ate a lot of junk food, but I lost weight. I don't know how. Like Oreos, beef jerky, sunflower seeds, chips, a lot of chips. I lived off chips for a solid 2 years there. And so I don't know how, but I lost weight doing that. So I think there's a secret. And I'm working out with Josh Wise now. He has me eating really healthy on like this. I got to drink a beet juice shot where it's just pure beet juice, like a shot of that in the mornings. A glass of lemon water. Basically, we're eating leaves. It's not. They call them mixed greens, but I think they're just a bunch of. I think Blake Coach just emptied out his leaf filter into the deal of just leaves into the bucket, and he says, "Oh, you got to eat that for lunch." So just nasty stuff, but hopefully it'll pay off. I don't think it is, but hopefully.
So, what's your playing weight right now?
What's my what?
Playing weight. What is your? You're in shape.
I went from 160, like 162, 63. I got down to 147 before Daytona.
That's stout, man.
I'm trying. I'm back up to like 155 now within a week. I fluctuate.
What's going to happen when you go home and hit up Latai 5 times while you're there?
Josh is not going to be happy, but it's going to be good. I know that. A little fried rice every night.
You and I have the Latai Lotus debate because I'm a Lotus person and you swear by Latai. I've been to both. Why is Latai your go-to?
I think it's just I'm a fried rice enthusiast, I would say. Like, I like to try fried rice wherever I go. I don't like a lot of vegetables in my fried rice, but when you don't get the vegetables in it at certain places, I like just a plain fried rice. And everywhere I've been, except for Latai, it's been very bland. Just it seemed like just rice, maybe a little soy sauce on it. They cook it with soy sauce. But there's not a lot of spice, and there's not a lot of just spices in it, to give it that flavor. I feel like with Latai, it's got a lot of flavor, and like you can just tell it just looks different. It looks a little bit darker. It looks like there's a lot more different colors within the rice, and then you go to another place and it's just very bland in one color, and so there's just a lot of flavor within the Latai rice, and that's what I like with it.
You turned 21 this year. Are you planning like a big blowout?
No, I drink Capri Suns and Pepsi.
Always?
Always. Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Pepsi products only for me. Aquafina.
So you're not planning some big, deal in July when that day finally hits, you being a Las Vegas guy and everything?
No, I end up getting in trouble for that somehow, too.
Your middle name must be Trouble.
It's not trouble, just people are a little soft these days,
Well, there is that, and, you and I probably have to work on changing the world. As far as back to racing, what are your expectations for this season?
I don't have big goals like winning X amount of races. I don't have goals like that. I just have smaller goals that hopefully will add up, and I like to focus on the process and set goals off the process during the race, I'd say, and the small things like being the fastest on pit road every weekend, maximizing that, maximizing how I get into the pit box, my pit stops and everything, getting off pit road, and then restarts is a big thing for me. So just all the little things just all add up, I feel like, and they can put you in position to win races. And so if I do all those small things and execute those, I feel like the results will come. I saw I don't know if it's a psychologist or whatever those guys are, but his name was Jock, and he taught me a lot about just focusing on execution and then not worried about results based. And so that's what I've been trying to do all last year, and I know I did the best job I could do last year. We ran into a little bit of luck. He has a formula where it's your A plus B equals C, and your A is your execution. Your B is luck, so it's about like 65% execution. Well, you gotta execute 100%, but if you have 65% execution and 35% of it is the luck you have, I mean, it's the unknown. You can run over a screw out there. Anything can happen. Somebody could wreck right in front of you. As long as you can execute to your max, then that'll equal the C. And so that's when the results will come. But if I can do everything I can do out there, and I can lay my head down at night and say, man, I did everything I could do, there's nothing more I can do, then I'll be happy.
I mean, you certainly need that luck factor at places like Daytona and Talladega especially.
Yeah, I mean, people said I had a really bad year last year, which you could definitely argue that just looking off the stats sheet when you're not really educated on what happens throughout the race, like some people are on Twitter, I feel like, but they don't see... They just see, oh, Christopher Bell won this amount of races in the championship, and Noah only won one race. Well, we also changed motors, so we had to learn with that. We changed to the flat splitters. We had to learn with that. There's a lot of adversity that we had to overcome throughout last year, and we had the most poles. We led the most laps out of any driver. We had the most stage wins. Just either I would step on my you-know-what and almost like wreck out of the race, battling hard for the win. Dover, for example. I feel like I'm not a driver to take second. I want to win, and I've kind of learned my lesson, and that's maybe not the greatest approach, but at the end of the day, you can't say I don't try, and I'm not going to settle. I don't come here to run second. My team doesn't come here to run second. My sponsors, they don't come here to watch a guy finish second. And the thing that kind of pisses me off the most is when you have people, when you finish sixth and you know something went wrong and you know the solution to it, and so you're mad at yourself, and then people come up, you did so good, you finished sixth. That pisses me off more than anything, because I feel like I didn't do my job, and it almost insults me because, not insults me, but I get frustrated with it because I know how much effort everybody puts into it, and six isn't an option for me.
Well, at 20, you still have time to get mentally tough, but it's cool that you're working on that. You know, kind of going with that, you mentioned fans, and you mentioned how when you were a 10-year-old kid, how you wanted the athlete to treat you. We're going into a new phase in NASCAR, and it seems like with Junior gone, with Tony gone, with Jeff, and, you know, leaving, there's a wide open range for drivers to really lobby for new fan base. There are fans out there still looking for drivers with Junior being gone. What is your pitch to potential fans out there to come over to the Noah Gragson camp?
I don't have a pitch. I'm just myself, honestly. And I'm just like a fan who gets the opportunity to drive a stock car, hopefully for a living for the rest of my life. And I try to treat everybody how they should be treated, and that's just with respect. And I try and give the most of my time to all the fans. So I wouldn't say I have a pitch. I just try and be just a normal person who maybe in 10 years they can walk up to, crack open a beer, and I'm not old enough obviously right now, but crack open a beer, and I'm just like any other normal guy. I'm a little crazy, I'm a little wild, but I'm just myself, honestly, and I try and just be one of the fans who gets to drive a race car.
We love that genuine factor about you, Noah. We really appreciate your time and look forward to seeing what you do back home.
Thank you.